Hey friend, so the word that God has spoken to my heart a while ago was dismantled. And he showed me a picture of a computer. Now, I am not into computers. I do love them and I love how much they help me, although sometimes I can hate them when they're not working. But the picture he gave me was of a computer that was dismantled. It was taken apart. And he reminded me of actually my son and how he actually does take apart and he dismantles computers. He's done it on a couple different occasions. And there's computer parts everywhere. And after he dismantles it, then he takes it and he rebuilds it. And God just spoke to my heart and he said, I want you to go tell somebody that's feeling like their life is like that picture, like their life is dismantled. And it's not easy, huh? Because it's not just a computer, it's not just a thing. This is your life. You have felt like brick by brick, piece by piece, your life has been torn asunder. Everything has been dismantled and you just don't understand it. Friend, I've been there. I know how much it hurts. And it's hard because you're trying to still believe that God is good and God is for you. But it's hard to understand then why he is letting this dismantling, this tearing apart, this tearing asunder it feels in your life happen. But then God reminded me of why my son had torn that computer apart. It wasn't to punish the computer. It wasn't out of meanness or anger or because he didn't like that computer. It's because he knew something that the computer didn't know. Some parts were no longer working in the way that they needed to work. Some, he was able to clean them and he was able to restore them and he was able to then repurpose them and reuse them. But others, they did have to go. And then he got brand new parts. And with those new parts and those old parts, friend, he rebuilt that computer. And when it got back together, it seemed even better than before. My son, I remember the smile on his face, and he was just beaming with pride and joy at the computer, at the work of his hands, that he had put those old parts and those new parts back together. And he did not dismantle that computer for harm or for pain. He did it for a purpose. And God is telling you, friend, the dismantling, even though it's hard, it's been for a purpose. One day, when he, the maker of us all, rebuilds your life, remantles it, it is going to be beyond your wildest imaginings. You are going to smile with tears of joy streaming down your face. Those tears that used to be out of sorrow are now going to be out of joy because you're going to just be so amazed at what God did, how he reassembled your life, how he took those old things and he washed them and he made them new. And then those other things that were no longer of purpose, that maybe were a little broken, maybe a little dysfunctional, that he was able to just say, okay, that is no longer serving the purpose that it needed to serve, and it is time to let it go, sweet child of my heart. But don't lose heart. I'm going to bring something in brand new, and your life is just going to be an amazing, wonderful thing. So friend, do not lose heart right now. I know it is beyond hard when you just feel like your life is just disassembled, dismantled. But look to the future, friend. I know it is hard, but look to what is yet to be. God is not finished. My son was not finished when that computer was in disarray and disassembled and there was parts everywhere. He just had to tear it apart, then clean it, then get everything together, get those new parts, and then reassemble it, friend. That is what is happening in your life. God did not do this or let it happen to you for a punishment or a detriment, friend. He knows the purpose behind it. And he's going to take even what the enemy meant for evil, and he will turn it for good, friend. He is a good father, and he has good in store for you. And one day, you're going to fully understand, and you're going to be like, okay, Dad, I understand now. Sometimes I think of like my dad and how he would try to tell me stuff growing up, and I was just like, whatever. But now that I've grown and I've learned and I've matured and I've seen the things that he's talked about actually come into fruition and come into my life, I'm like, oh, okay, Dad, now I understand what you were telling me. Like, that is how you're going to be with God, friend. That one day, this, looking back, this is going to make sense. You're going to be like, okay, God, I know now that you didn't do it for my harm, that you still had a purpose and a plan, a good future and a good hope for me. And that your heart, it wasn't doing these things out of spite or anything like that. You were actually doing it for my good, that your heart was always for me. I think sometimes that's the hardest thing, friend, when our life feels dismantled, is that we put all this onto God and we're like, you're just mean, God, you're just vindictive, you're letting this happen, or you're doing this to me. And we think it's out of spite, out of punishment, out of uncaring. But when he gave me that picture, it just helped my hurting heart, friend. Because as you know, my life too, like everybody else's at one point or another, has been dismantled. And sometimes it's not quite back together yet, right? We're all works in progress. So I am not just giving you these empty words that I have not lived. I have either lived them or am living them out as I speak to you across this screen. Friend, God is not finished. This is not the end of the story. This dismantling, these pieces everywhere, life that we're living right now, he has something great and good in store. If we will just keep going forward with him, one day we are going to marvel in amazement at the beautiful, amazing life that he has rebuilt out of those old and new pieces reassembled back together. Friend, I can't wait to hear. Don't give up hope. Keep going forward with God, and you're going to see the goodness of God in the land of the living.